Hello, love, and welcome back to the Boundaries Unleash podcast. Today's episode is going to feel just a little different. It's going to be more of a personal episode, and it's going to feel more like we're just hanging out, like we're having a coffee, chatting, catching up, all these things. And usually I come on my podcast and I drop these amazing mindset gems, and I give you lots of strategy for setting healthy boundaries, especially for recovering people pleasers and mystically minded women. But today, I just want to pull back the curtain, if you will, just a little bit. And it's not anything like earth-shattering, but it can have an earth-shattering effect on you if you are open to the realization that small things can really have a big impact. And I want to go behind the scenes of my own life and really talk about the small habits, the small routines, the little passions that are actually shaping who I am right now. Because truthfully, when we have these small habits and little passions, it's really creating more of who we are. It's letting us know that we are more than what we do for a living. We are more than the roles we play, whether it's a mom, whether it's a partner, spouse, professional, caregiver, friend, whatever role that you play in this life. We are more than that. We are also uniquely ourselves. And it's really those tiny things that we do every day or day in and day out that really give us our quirkiness, that really shape who we are. It shapes what we love, and it can really help us have just, our unique flavor, if you will. And those small things really are powerful because they really protect our peace. They really keep us grounded, and they connect us to ourselves. And that's the most important thing. And it's the same thing that boundaries can do for you, is help you connect to yourself. So this personal episode today is just going to give you a little example of how the small habits and quirks in my life help shape who I am and how I set boundaries, and how you can also model that for your life. So I just want to set the stage. If you're new to my channel or even new to this season, I am a boundaries coach. Did move, and actually we're coming up on one year anniversary that I did a big international move from the United States to Australia. So the past year I've really been sitting in this big transitional phase of life, and things are constantly shifting. I'm having to reground myself every other moment. I'm reimagining, what's next. Basically, this is my life. And even though I've been here for a year, the bigger the change, I feel like there is no timeline on when you can actually feel more grounded. Sometimes things happen very quickly for people. I just happen to be stretching and finding my feet with a little bit more time needed. And the big part of this big international move and this big shift for me really is letting go of all of the shoulds, what my life is supposed to look like by now, what I should be doing, how I should be spending my time, right? Like it's really exhausting when we can really give power to what all these should be, because it just sets us up for disappointment. It sets us up for shaming, and it's super not helpful. Okay. So instead, I'm choosing to release the shame of not fitting into any mold, and I'm creating my own rhythm. And that's what I hope to offer you as a choice that you can make for yourself as well. And knowing that what lights you up is enough, and what lights me up is enough. And right there, like that's boundaries. Honestly, boundaries aren't just about saying no to others. They're really about saying yes to yourself. So I just want to share. So here's where the curtain opens up here. And I just want to share some of the things that I'm loving right now. And really, these are these small habits. These are all the things that are shaping me outside of work and outside of the roles that I have, to include spouse, partner, mother, business owner, boundaries coach, all these things. Okay. So here's the small but sacred rituals that I've been getting on with recently. Now, some of these are going to sound maybe kind of superficial, but for me, it's not. If it brings you joy, it's not superficial. And sometimes just feeling and creating that joy is enough. And so one of the small habits that I've just recently, because I get into like phases of self-care, personal self-care, but I'm really into skincare right now. And I know that's like, Vicky, that's so like, you're so behind the curve. Well, if you've ever like dove into skincare routines, for one, how like over the top they can be, how expensive it can be. It takes a lot of time, effort, and money to look this natural. You know what I mean? And so, but I recently got into my own morning skincare routine and using Aesop products. Not that I'm endorsing, I have no endorsement or partnership with anything that I'm going to be sharing today. It just happens to be, the company that I enjoy. But yeah, I just love it. And so my Aesop skincare, part of just that ritual of looking in the mirror, connecting, literally looking in your eyes, right? Like you get up in that bathroom mirror, you wash, you do your steps, you have your whole like hair out of your face, you feel like you're, giving yourself a little spa treatment. It's a very intimate moment, and it's a very much a love letter to myself at the beginning and the end of my day, right? It tells myself that I'm worth pampering, I'm worth being cared for, right? And it's something I can provide for myself. It's not contingent on anyone else but myself. So my skincare routine, it bookends my day. I'm loving it. It's bringing me joy. I also like to listen, and this would be no surprise because, hello, I have a podcast. I love listening to podcasts. So I'm an avid listener. I listen to many different shows just routinely. One that's really been bringing me a lot of joy actually is Good Hang with Amy Poehler. I don't know if you've ever listened to her podcast, but it's hilarious. One, she's hilarious. She's a joy. She cracks me up. Just the relationship she has with her guests and how she brings out just genuine authenticity with her guests is really refreshing. And so I'm really into her podcast right now. And just, even other podcasts, for me, it's how I learn, it's how I grow. It's actually what inspired me to create a podcast for you guys to be an extension of my coaching business to help you grow in your own boundary setting and personal development. So listening to podcasts really lights me up. It feeds into my knowledge base and even just feeds into my joy bank. So really highly love my podcast. Something new, actually, and it might be a surprise for some of you, especially people who have known me for a long time, but if you truly know me, this won't be too surprising. But I recently got into teaching myself how to play the piano. So self-teaching myself via YouTube videos. There's people online creating videos for beginners like me who just want to dabble into learning the basics of music theory, simple scales, and just, playing music for joy. That's one of my kind of regrets growing up. I've always been in, performing arts groups, and I danced growing up. So I've always been surrounded by musicians and music and live art, performing art. I'm married to a musician. And so I've always wanted to learn an instrument, and I've always wanted to learn piano. I bought myself a keyboard. I've been doing that a few times a week, and it's been really fun, very humbling, I might add. It's very humbling to be a beginner again. For someone who likes control and has a little bit of perfectionism, it is very humbling to be a beginner in something that people are just magnificent in and just mind-blowingly talented. But it's it's playful. It allows me to tap into that creative side, and I love learning new skills. So teaching myself piano. And another thing I'm doing right now is I'm going back to reading more fiction. Now, I love self-development between, my coaching practice, personal self-development, personal podcasts. I'm always reading a lot of nonfiction. So for me to get back into fiction has actually been a real treat, a real pleasant surprise. I love reading fiction. For one, not only is it just world creating and just really taps into our imagination, but it's nice because it also just helps me witness other people's creativity, and it activates that creativity in myself. And so the current book I'm reading, which shout out to the author, Elise Kova, but it's Arcana Academy. And I don't know if you can see that. I'll put all this in the show notes if you want. But I love this book for one, because it's got a little bit of fantasy. But the whole premise is based on tarot and the whole tarot system. So it's a fantasy book about tarot magic, and it has me kind of thinking it's this nice mix between Hunger Games and the Harry Potter, Hogwarts. So obviously you can see we're halfway through it. I haven't finished it yet, but it's really bringing me lots of joy, and it makes me chuckle, especially since I have a tarot background and I know what cards mean and how she's using them in her story. It's just magnificent. So thank you, Elise Kova, for sharing this fun, creative work of art, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So thank you. I've also been increasing my tarot readings. Obviously, I've been into tarot for many years now. It's a self-care practice that has been constant part of my daily being and part of my spiritual practices and just part of my self-care. but I've really been amping it up a little bit, especially since I've been offering it now as a coaching service for people. So if you're interested in getting your own tarot reading, I now offer that as a service. And it's so nice to be able to weave my tarot practice into my coaching practice. And it's really been really energizing for me. So not only my own personal practice, but the more I just engage with tarot cards and more I engage with kind of a higher frequency and energy as I read for other people, it's just been really energizing and activating. And so it's like, I'm really digging that right now. It's really bringing a lot of joy to my life. And last thing I want to share is just listening to music. So a few months ago, it was my husband's birthday, and a present I bought for him was a record player. Now, and I don't know if you have this, especially if you've been in a long-term relationship and a long marriage. Like my husband and I were about to hit our 20-year anniversary at the end of this year. And sometimes when you live together with someone that long, you know someone that long, you buy them a gift, but it's like half for them, but also half for you. I feel like that's what this record player was, because we're both very much into music. Again, like I said, he's classically trained musician, so he's always been a music guy, and it's one of the things that, brought us together, shared interest. But I've been really loving listening to records, and I love that it's very intentional, right? Most of the time I listen to music streaming, like on Spotify, where I host this podcast, and because it's on my phone, it's very easy to get distracted and open up other apps or to multitask while it's listening. And so what I really like about record playing is, for one, it's very tangible. I'm very much a tangible, touching kind of person. So like the act of like putting the record on and hearing the needle, check on, and just the crackle of it starting, like it just gives me a nice little shimmy vibe. It just puts me in the right presence. I really like receiving it. I just like listening to it. I have it in my sitting room, which is attached to my kitchen. So I'm often like cleaning or cooking while I'm listening to records. We put records on when we sit at the dining room table for dinner. It's just wonderful. This has been, something that's always been available for like many, many years. But, since we've owned it, we've spent a little bit of money expanding our record collection very, very quickly. So luckily we have a nice collection to listen to in just the 2 months that we've owned this record player. But it's just really brought so much joy. It's really grounding, and it's been bringing me a lot of peace. So I've been really digging listening to vinyl records. Now, all of these things that I'm sharing with you, they may sound small, but they're really threads that kind of weave me back to myself. So there are ways that make me feel grounded, that way to connect me with joy, way to connect me with my inner child playful essence. And it just brings me peace. And ultimately, like that alone is like worth everything. And it also reminds me, by engaging in these small habits and quirky things, it's that life is not just about productivity. It's about presence. And all these things make me feel more present, being able to receive, being very intentional, being very focused, and just receiving the beauty, really, and care and love. It's very, very grounding. And again, these are different tiny threads that I can engage with that reconnect me to myself, who I am. And it's just a wonderful feeling. Now, there is a bigger lesson in all of this, not only to what I just said, but it's very common to feel like what we do for a living or what we do for employment is really defines on who we are. We live in a culture that really defines what we do. It makes it about who we are, and that's just not the case. Whether it be our resumes, our job title, our roles that we play, the milestones we've checked off, right? If you've ever sat at a dinner party, I mean, this happened to me just recently, right? Or a networking event, the first question comes up is, so what do you do? And I've always hated that question, because I know what you're asking me, but it's not what I want to answer, because I know it doesn't define who I am. And I've always felt a little combative when people ask me that. But now I've tend to give myself a little bit more grace, give them a little bit more grace, right? They're just being socially polite. They just want to know how I spend my day. They want to know if it's something they can relate to. If your work doesn't light you up, that's okay. Right? And sometimes it's a big point of stress for people. So I often try to not make that a question at social events and networking events, unless it's a work event, just because it can be kind of triggering for people. And look, if your work lights you up, that's amazing. You should be screaming it from the rooftops, the mountaintops. You're in the line of work that you need to be in if it's bringing you so much passion and joy. But if you've ever felt that sting of comparison, if you've ever felt like, oh, what I do isn't really that impressive, and you feel like you want to shrink back, or you feel like, oh God, I don't want to answer this, or you even deflect entirely, and talk about what your partner does or deflect about what your kids do. That's very common when we have this like icky feelings that come up with this question. And it can make us feel unimportant. But the secret here is that your worth is not tied to what you do for a living. It's simply just how you pay the bills and provide for your family. What makes you interesting, what makes you magnetic, what makes you unforgettable, it's your uniqueness. It's all those small habits and quirky things that you do that bring you joy and bring you energy. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes you a joy to be around, not what your employment status is or what you do. Okay. And when we can really embrace these small habits, we can embrace these hobbies, these small quirks, these things that really bring us joy, that changes our energy. It makes us magnetic. It makes us palpable. It makes us people want to be around us. And especially when you share what you're genuinely excited about, whether it's your skincare routine, whether it's learning piano, diving into tarot, or spinning records, or whatever, pickleball, whatever it is that you do, whatever like lights you up, right? People feel that energy. They can feel the authentic joy that it is exuded from you as you're talking about it. They get excited because you are excited about it. And passion is infectious, right? They're going to be maybe free to share what their some quirky or small habits are that maybe they felt ashamed to share or felt guilty about, right? They're going to see you be confident to share this, that they're also going to share. And it just provides a more authentic connection and a moment to connect with other people over different things. So what I'm saying here is that we're allowed to have joy. We're allowed to be quirky. We're allowed to have curiosities that are ours alone. That's what makes us enough, because we are enough. Now, so here's what I want you to think about all this. I want you to think about what small habits or quirky interests have you been downplaying because they don't feel, quote unquote, impressive enough. Okay, so what small habits or quirky interests have you been downplaying because they don't feel impressive enough? So just be thinking about that. Also, I want you to think about where in your life you could lean into something just because it lights you up and not because it checks a box. So where in your life could you lean into something or more into something just because it gives you joy, just because it lights you up? Okay. And lastly, I want you to think about how might those things be shaping your identity in a way that's truer, in a way that's richer, and more magnetic than anything on your resume? How might the skincare routine or, the small habit, whatever small habits that light you up and bring you joy, how can that be adding and enriching your life more than, checking off the box or anything that you could list on your resume? Okay. So be thinking about all that, sit with all that, journal on it, meditate on it, talk with a friend about it, have a coffee, catch up, think about it and see what comes up for you. And what I want you to do, either after that or even with me, I want you to share with me what's lighting you up. What is bringing you joy? What are the small habits and things that you're into right now that just make you smile with just thinking about it? I want you to slide into my DMs on Instagram at vicky.pittman.coach. And I want you to tell me what those are. I want you to tag me in your stories. I want to know, what is the little thing that you're doing just for you? Okay. And if you're in a season where you're not sure, if you're in a transit season, if you're feeling disconnected from yourself, if you're struggling to see who you are outside of your roles, this is where a personal tarot reading can be super beneficial for you. So these sessions are part guidance, they are part coaching, and they are about helping you connect or reconnect with your truth and clarity. So if you're craving direction, if you're ready to see the bigger picture of what's possible or what you're becoming, book a reading with me. I now offer it as a service. It's on my website. I'll put the link in the show notes. It could be really just the thing that can shift you into feeling lost to feeling super clear and just reconnecting with joy. So I'll leave it there. The world doesn't need you to be impressive. It just needs you to be fully unapologetically you. We are becoming joy, and connecting to ourselves is our path there, right? Your little habits, your quirkiness, your curiosities, they're not distractions, but really to be embraced. They are the spark that makes you unique, really the essence of you. And what a joy to be able to share that with the world. And I share it with me. I want to witness it. I want to witness you. So thanks for hanging out today. Thanks for listening. I know this was a more personal episode, but I hope it inspires you to embrace the little habits and quirkiness that bring you joy every day and the little things that make you you. And so until next time, I want you to protect your peace. I want you to honor your uniqueness. And remember, boundaries are the gateway to your most aligned magnetic self. And as always, love yourself like you mean it. Much love.